The RZ is Lexus's first jump into the EV world. It's their first all-electric vehicle. It is a compact crossover, and Lexus has a slew of hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles that have been around for a long time, have been killing it in the efficiency game. So why jump into the EV market now, as it seems like the EV market is kind of collapsing? Let's get into all of it. I'm Adam from Texas Garage. It's super cold today, but we're gonna dive into the all-new RZ right now. All right, so let's start off by talking about the trims and models offered on the all-new RZ for 2023, which this is a 2023 model year. The RZ was introduced with one model. It's the 450e, and it has two trims, the premium or luxury trim. This is the 2023 RZ 450e luxury trim. In 2024, they introduced a new model, the 300e, and while the 450e is an all-wheel drive platform, the 300e is front-wheel drive, which is one of the things that helps make it more efficient and gives it a longer range than the 450e. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into talking about the electric motor, the charging, the range. But first, let's talk about the exterior design. So the RZ boasts a spindle body design that sets the stage for Lexus's future electrified offerings. From the sleek blade tail lamp to the 20-inch alloy wheels, this electric crossover makes a statement. As an option, the Lexus can come with a painted bi-tone finish that gives the front spindle grille and hood a black finish along with the paint color. This vehicle does not have that. The paint color here is called Ether, and it is a very light blue, and I think it works well here. We do have the bi-LED headlamps and daytime running lamps. We do have the puddle lamps that project the word Lexus onto the ground as you open the doors at night. The RZ does have a quirky rear wing. It's a split rear wing, obviously for the best aerodynamics while still giving it a bit of downforce. Again, looks a bit quirky, but works out well. We do have power folding side mirrors that do power fold on lock. And we have a full panoramic moonroof, which we'll look at as we get inside the vehicle. It is a sleek design. I do like the design direction that Lexus is taking with its new crossovers and this tweaked spindle design that's going to encompass all of the EVs. Looking at the dimensions of the vehicle, you have a total length of 189.2 inches, a wheelbase of 112.2 inches, a width of 74.2 inches, and a height of 64.4 inches. Looking at the rear hatch, first off, it is a power lifting hatch, and it can power lift with a kick underneath the rear bumper. It works out well and opens decently quickly. Your full cargo volume is 34.9 cubic feet, which is really good. Lexus says you should have no problem accommodating 3 golf bags or a combination of suitcases. Below the cargo floor holds a deck with additional space available to stow smaller items as well as provide a level 1 vehicle charging cable. The RZ 450 packs a punch with a total system horsepower of 308 and a 0 to 60 acceleration in just 5 seconds. The 71.4 kilowatt hour battery delivers a range of up to 196 miles. And again, while that is pretty low for EVs today, the RZ 300e 2024 model now offers a full range of 266 miles. And I actually did something here with the RZ that I haven't done with any other EV that I've driven and reviewed in the past. I actually utilize my own home and my own electricity on a daily basis to charge this thing. I didn't just drive it for 4 or 5 days straight and then wait till it was almost dead to try to recharge it from 0 to 100%, which is a typical thing that I do, and takes a fast charger if you want to get it charged fully. At my house, I don't have a 240 volt charger. I only have the 120 volt home plug. So I drive it for the full day. I typically don't put a lot of miles on a car in a day, running to the grocery store, running to drop off and pick up kids from school. But at the end of the day, I would always plug it in at night and charge it back to full after being down to like 80%. And it worked out perfectly fine. Had no range anxiety throughout the entire week, which is really good. Even on Saturday when I was out with the family, we took this thing. We were all over the place putting 100 miles on it in a single day, plugged it in overnight, and got it back up to about 90% charge with an overnight charge. Again, at a 120 volt charger, you're looking at like 14 hours to get it to full from zero. But if you don't let it get to zero, getting it back up to 100 isn't a terrible thing to ask for it. But like I always say with all of the EVs that I review, if you own one, you definitely need to get a better charger at your house, the 240 volt, or one that is installed specifically for charging EVs is kind of the way to go. But with that, let's go ahead and jump inside and take a look at the interior, starting with the rear seats. All right, and the main thing to talk about here in the rear seats is just the space that you have. This is a compact crossover, so it's not a ton of space, but obviously being an electric vehicle, you can utilize more interior space than you do in a gas vehicle. So I got plenty of knee room, plenty of foot room, plenty of headroom here. We do have this panoramic moonroof, which we'll talk about as we jump in the front. We've got a pull-down armrest with cup holders. We've got two USB Type-C charging ports, heated seats back here, a 120 volt house-type plug, and really good materials. But let's go ahead and jump in the driver's seat and talk about the rest of the interior and the tech in this thing. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. The interior trim is called Thunderstorm with macadamia ultra suede. And you can see these seats here. They're really nice, suede, perforated, nice stitching. It is a blue color. On the doors, you get some white leather-like trimming and more of that blue color. And swinging around is your charcoal black addition to the interior. And you can see because of the heater design that you have for the EV, they have replaced the glove box area. You do not have a glove box. You just have a console area underneath the center console. You just have some storage underneath the center console area here, and not a traditional glove box. So taking a step back first, let's take a look at the cabin as a whole. It is a driver-centric cabin. The infotainment screen is tilted a bit towards the driver. Very cockpit-like feeling in the driver's seat. You can see our large 14-inch touchscreen multimedia display with Lexus's new interface system. I've actually talked about this one before in the Lexus NX that we drove not too long ago. I do like the system way more than the previous system. I do have my gripes about this one, with being a large display but feeling very cluttered. And that would be kind of my biggest gripe on it, but it is a nice display, nice to have, easy to touch, easy to navigate, but you can see how things kind of get covered up and things seem very cramped. You can't minimize some of these big chunky bars. You can see your AC and heat controls are here with some physical wheels for the actual temperature. You have a physical volume knob here as well, and a couple of physical buttons for your heat distribution, as well as for those side mirrors. You got a couple more buttons down here for parking, for your 360 camera view, which you can see here. Obviously, if you put it into reverse, you'll get the backup camera with the 360 camera. And this does do the trick of showing you what's underneath the car as you're backing up, which is pretty cool. Of course, you can hear the beeping, which I'll touch on again in just a second. But beside that camera view, you also have 3 USB Type-C charging ports here. These two are just for charging. This one interfaces with the infotainment screen, which gives you Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You also have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Under that, we do have a shelf here for a wireless phone charger. It's a bit grippy, but if you don't have a grippy case on your phone, it can slide around and disengage the charging. Moving back more, see our cup holders here, our gear shifter. Again, this one you just push down. You're in neutral. You can push over for reverse, over for drive, push the button for park. We do have an electronic parking brake, traction control off, and an auto hold button. And this material here is kind of a wood grain. Looks good. It's a dull gray, so it kind of matches with the blue and black really well. Armrest is decently squishy, nice for your elbow. Got plenty of room here. Did kind of skip over the power button to kick this thing on. It is just right here. And I really like this placement over having it down here where it's obstructed by the steering wheel. Not that you can't get used to it being down here, and that's where most vehicles have it. But if you don't need to put the key in an ignition, you could always move the power button wherever you want, and having it right here where you just jump in, grab the back of the console here and push it with your thumb. It's a nice big button. I think that's a good placement. Moving back again, you can see the steering wheel. It's nice and beefy, leather wrapped. Feels good in the hands. You've got paddle shifters, but these aren't actual paddle shifters to change gears. These actually adjust your regenerative braking for one pedal driving. I'll show you that as we drive it. You've got plenty of controls on the steering wheel here. You can see here in the camera the flashing lights from the sensor bar up here. You can't see that in person, but on the camera that does show up. And these are radars that are shooting in your face constantly. And this is used for driver attention. This vehicle will tell you if you're not paying attention, not looking forward. So if you look to the side too much, you're looking down at your phone, the Lexus will complain to you and tell you to look forward. And unfortunately, there's not really a way to turn that off that I've found, but I think that should be an option to have that turned off. And then behind here is another nice big screen for your driver information. You can thumb through a couple of different options here, but it doesn't change drastically. You can't come into the screen here and change your drive modes. You have a normal, a sports, an eco, and a range. Doing so does change the look of the driver information screen a bit. You can see that sport mode there turns it red. And then we have range mode, which will change it, but will also kick off any kind of AC or heat that you got running, and it just maximizes the range. We'll talk more about those drive modes as we get it out on the road. And then we also have a 10-inch head-up display. And again, if you saw the Lexus NX review that we did, this has a lot of the same features. One of the cool things is as you hover your thumb over the buttons here without pushing them, it'll actually give you a display of that in your head-up display. So you don't have to look down to know what buttons you're clicking. It's always here on your head-up display, and that is for either side. And I think that is an incredibly good use of the head-up display. We also do have a Mark Levinston 13 speaker, 12 channel, 1800 watt premium sound system. Needless to say, it does sound really good. We do have our dynamic sky panoramic sunroof. This is pretty cool. The glass is very frosted, but with a click of a button here, it becomes automatically opaque and easy to see through, and then another click of a button and it's back to being very frosted. You can kind of see it there on the camera. It's probably a little bit tougher to see, especially with the overcast day, but on a nice sunny day, that is super noticeable and super helpful because there is no shade that closes this off. It's all about the extra frosting, which is always a cool technology and a cool trick to show people. We also have interior lighting that's called door trim shadow illumination. It's actually projected lighting onto the side of the door that has a cool pattern. I did get a shot of that at night that I'll insert here, but it's really cool looking and very understated, so it's not overwhelming like some interior lighting. But that's a good rundown of the interior and tech in here. Let's go ahead and get it out on the road for a drive, talk about the range, talk about the driving experience, play around with some of the drive modes and the one pedal drive, and continue on with the review. All right, let's get this thing out on the road, talk about how it drives. Obviously, super quiet, at least as you're driving and you have no obstructions. This thing does make a lot of noises, a lot of beeps, a lot of safety noises. As I kick it on in the morning, I'm parked too close to the garage, so the parking sensors will beep. You put it into reverse, it has a reverse beep that will be going off as the parking sensors are going off as well. So you've got like multiple beeps there. And then if a car is coming by as I'm backing out of the driveway, that has another beep to warn you. And it happened several times this week where I had all three beeps kind of going off at the same time. You also have the attention getter, attention scanner built in, where if you're not paying attention, it will beep and warn you. And that has happened several times this week as well. It's not just with this car. It happened to me also in the Prius a few times. So definitely a nanny car. But other than the beeps, it is a super smooth, super quiet ride, just like you would expect from an EV. It does have some really good get up and go. You do have a sport mode. To get to the modes, you've got a menu in here that we looked at. We've got drive modes, put it on sport. Driver information turns red. Steering a little bit tighter, but acceleration much more direct. Obviously, you're gonna waste more battery doing that. But let's come up to a bit of a straight in the road and see if we can't do a quick acceleration test. It's supposed to be a dead 5 seconds, 0 to 60. So we're in sport mode. Come to a complete stop. Ready, set, go. A little bit to get up and go, but we're at 60. So that instant torque from going from like 30 to 50 or 60 to 75 feels a little bit more impactful, but it's still a pretty quick feeling vehicle. Obviously, put it back into eco mode or range mode so that we get the most out of the range. You have 4 levels of regenerative braking that again can be adjusted through the paddles on the steering wheel. So you pull the minus pedal down, and that's going to give you level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And as you let off the gas, the regenerative braking will kick in and it will automatically start slowing down for you so you can get the whole one pedal drive feel. Now, I've talked about this plenty of times where I'm not a big fan of aggressive one pedal driving. I don't like the feel of it. I know you can get used to it and do it more smoothly, but something that I don't feel as comfortable as doing, especially when you get up into a highway situation. That being said, the max setting here on the RZ feels fine. We do have the Lexus Safety System 3.0 Plus, which gets you a slew of safety features. You've got radar guided cruise control, lane keeping assist, radars all around the vehicle for collision detection, lots of driving assist features which you can turn on and toggle, a lot of them, parking features, everything that you might expect from a luxurious vehicle in the market today. The head-up display, again, is one of the best in the industry. Very clear, easy to read. You get all the information that you want, and again, as you hover your fingers over the buttons on the steering wheel, it will display it up there so you're never looking down to try to figure out exactly what you're pushing. Really a thumbs up for me. All of the 450Es are all-wheel drive. They have Lexus's all-wheel drive system. And again, although it's been super cold during the week that I've had this, we didn't get any ice or snow or even heavy rain. So I didn't get to put that all-wheel drive to the test. I have no doubt it's decent, but I don't know if it's necessary here in Texas for at least 90 to 95% of the time. One thing that really hampers this vehicle the most is its range. It does have low range compared to a lot of the other EVs on the market. But during the week that I've had this thing, it's been no problems. We'll talk more about that as we wrap up this review. But yeah, the driving position is really good. Everything is easy to touch, easy to control, especially once you get the hang of where everything is. The infotainment system, I think, is a bit more cluttered than it should be for having such a big monitor. But all in all, it's been a really enjoyable experience here in the interior and driving this thing. All right, and with that, I think it's time to start talking about the price and some of the competition and wrap up this thing. Let's find a place to pull back over. We'll start talking about the price and then we'll wrap it up. All right, let's quickly touch on the price and then I'll jump back out into the cold and give you some of my final thoughts. So the all new 2024 RZ 300E has a base price of $55,150. And of course, I haven't driven that one. I haven't seen the interior and everything with that one. But if it came down to more range with the front wheel drive or less range with an all wheel drive, I would go with the front wheel drive platform and get more range, especially here in Texas. If you're not dealing with the ice and snow, there's no reason to really take this thing off road. That all wheel drive probably isn't going to help you as much. Obviously, it's got more horsepower, more pep, but for electric vehicles, I think range is king. So that lower price for more range sounds like a good deal to me. Hopefully we'll get to drive one of those soon as well. Jumping into the 450E, you have a starting price just under $60K, and our luxury trim here has an MSRP over $65K, which is good money, but in the grand scheme of things, looking at the competition out there for all electric vehicles, luxury electric vehicles, crossover electric vehicles, that's actually a good price in my opinion. Even the Kia EV6 that we drove was in the $60,000 range, and that's a Kia, not a Lexus, although fantastic vehicle and super powerful. But let me jump back out. I'll discuss some of the other options out there and some of my final thoughts, and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, so it is chilly out here, so we'll keep it brief on the outro. I've driven a bunch of EVs now, especially even the luxury EVs from the Mercedes EQB, EQE, EQS, the Kia EV6. I drove the cousin car to this, the BZ4X from Toyota. I've actually drove this once super quickly at an event, plus a lot of vehicles like the Polestar, the Genesis EV, and a few others there that I'll probably forget. And I'm sure I missed some stuff with this. If you guys got any questions, leave them down in the comments and I can try to answer them later. Or if you've got something that I completely missed that should be addressed, leave it down in the comments. It's a new vehicle with a ton to talk about that I just can't address everything in one video, especially when it's freezing cold out here. But at the end of the day, I came into this week thinking that I probably wouldn't really like this vehicle that much. I am a fan of EVs, despite what the market thinks about them, despite the fact that people just aren't buying them. I personally do like EVs, but I assumed for the price that this thing was at, having a Lexus badge on it, it just probably wouldn't be worth it. But man, was I wrong. I really do like the styling after seeing it in person, after walking around it, after parking it and walking away and looking back at it. I think the style on this thing is really good. The interior is a perfect setup. I really like the direction that Lexus is going with all of their vehicles, with the interior design, with a nice big screen, cockpit-like feel, new infotainment system, new technologies. The utility in this thing is great. Lots of cargo volume, lots of room in the rear seats, very comfortable as the driver. Again, I love the opportunity to drive the 300E and see how much different that is, because if you're getting an EV, range is kind of king there. And that could be one downside of this over another EV. A lot of them are in the 230 to 300 range is kind of average. This being at 196 is kind of a sore spot for it, but it depends on what you're doing. I drove this thing throughout the week constantly. And like I said, for the first time of having an EV at my house to review, I really utilized my own home electric charging, had it plugged in after every day that I used it, charged it overnight, and didn't have any range anxiety during the week or anything like that. Even drove it one day all around, putting a total of about 100 miles on it, and it all worked out really well. So if you're in the market for an EV, which not a lot of people are, admittedly, but if you are, I really do like the RZ. I think Lexus did a fantastic job with their first out of the gates EV. And I would definitely recommend this one, especially for the price. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the RZ. Let me know if you have any other questions. Subscribe to the channel if you're into automotive reviews. We do a different review every week. Lots of EVs on the channel. Lots to come, and trust me, we'll pump out videos even if it's freezing cold outside. You should also check out TXGARAGE.com, where we've got a lot of written reviews as well as event news coverage from a lot of great authors over there. There was a week recently where I was super sick and didn't get to film a review at all, and I wrote an article for the first time in about 3 years. So again, if you're into automotive news, reviews, events, that's a great place to check out. We've got a nice community over there. But for this one, that's all I got. I'm gonna get back in the warm car. Thanks for watching.